Good morning. Today's Thursday, May 5th, and tonight is going to be the dark moon night for this cycle with the new moon phase, the new moon cycle beginning tomorrow. Hi, Tulsi. The new moon cycle starts tomorrow at about 12:30 midday. And we're going to have a bunch of planets in sidereal Aries right now. So just for everyone who's new to this, we're using the sidereal zodiac for Vedic astrology. This is how we view the planets from Earth. So between Earth and the constellation of Aries, that area of the sky, right now we have the sun and the moon beginning this new moon cycle, and Venus and retrograde Mercury are also there. So people are still tuning in right now. I'll just make a note. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about you can read in my most recent report on the new moon at somyadevi.com. And I also send out a free mailing list with these updates for all of you. So you can get that there. And there's also a lot of free forecasts included for mailing list members. So this is a big new moon because we have 4 planets retrograde. In Western astrology, they might also be talking about Uranus. We're not going to talk about that because that's not part of the Vedic zodiac. But right now we have Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter are all retrograde. So we have a lot of sort of slowing down, backing up energy. There's a lot that we're reconsidering right now. No Russian, sorry, with all of these planets retrograde. And they're also all somehow aspecting or influencing the planets beginning this new moon, the sun and moon. So for a second, so we can see the chart for this new moon. So this is the chart for beginning the new moon tomorrow. Sorry if this platform is strange. It's a little reflective. But so this is Aries constellation, and as you can see, for this new moon, we have moon and sun there. Venus is also there. Retrograde Mercury is there. Then over here in sidereal Scorpio, we have retrograde Saturn and retrograde Mars. And now Mars is the ruler of both Scorpio and Aries in the Vedic system. And so Mars is really influencing this new moon because Mars is ruling 6 of the 9 Vedic planets right now, and Mars is retrograde. So there's going to be a lot of passion and intensity behind this new moon, but we're also going to be sort of backing up with that, retreating with our courage, maybe reconsidering where we want to direct our willpower at the moment. I'm going to talk more about that, but just as we're checking out the whole chart here, Jupiter over here in sidereal Leo is also retrograde, and Jupiter is also aspecting this new moon because Jupiter aspects 5 and 9 houses from where he is. So Jupiter is also influencing this new moon, and because he's joined with Rahu and opposite Ketu, this is like a supercharged Jupiter. And you've probably noticed right now, this Jupiter in Leo joined with Rahu is making everyone really passionate about their beliefs. We can see this most widely in the U.S. political race right now. People are really on the extreme ends of the spectrum, exactly. Rahu's a bit irrational. Is this something to worry about? Well, we're just going to keep talking about it, but there's always a higher opportunity with the planets, with whatever lineup you're facing, and it's always on a personal level. It's really about what you can do in your own life, because that's really all we can do is our own best to bring out the higher sides of these planets, to bring out good actions and service and compassion and cooperation instead of the negative aspects that are being offered. But so anyway, we can see that basically all the planets in this chart are somehow influencing this new moon. So the new moon is also in a sub-constellation. We're familiar with the 12 constellations of the Western zodiac. And in the Vedic, we divide it up even further into 27 sections of this same band of the sky. And these are the Vedic Nakshatras. And right now, at the time of this new moon, we're going to have Moon, Sun, and Venus in Bharani Nakshatra. And Bharani is known as the bearer. This really has to do with the feminine energy in creation that nurtures everything, that bears everything into birth, that endures creation as well as death and change. And this star is also related, this star relates to creation and birth and death and regeneration, because the deity for this nakshatra is Yama, who's the lord of death. So the symbol for this star is the yoni, or the female reproductive organs in their entirety. So that's where we see this very nurturing, creative aspect. But then with the Lord of Death, we also see that that's the other end of the spectrum. This is going to be a month of extremes because of this nakshatra, and then that influence of Jupiter and Rahu also aspecting here. And with Saturn and Mars also going backwards, everyone's just like really in a position to retreat and possibly change directions. So what's going on for this month is it's really a time to slow down and step back because of all these planets retrograde, and really reconsider where you want to invest your creative energy. Because Bharani, it's the bearer, it's the star of birth and death and regeneration. It's not always immediate. It's a star where we can take the time to nurture something, something that has been brewing, something that needs consistent energy behind it, is what we're able to bring into being. So right now it's a time where we're really slowing down and reconsidering a lot of our long-term goals and a lot of what we want to put into the world. And this is a time where this month we may be, where to invest our creative energy in this life. Let's talk a little bit about all those planets retrograde, because again, we have Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury all retrograde right now. So everyone usually gets all worried about Mercury retrograde. What that really means is Mercury is appearing to move backwards. This happens every few months, and during this time we have a chance to redo some of our past communications, maybe finalize some things that we're kind of left open-ended. It's a time to back up and finish mercurial things, even some writing, some communications, some phone calls that you forgot to return or that you missed. It's true that you can also tend to have these things feel a little jumbled up during this time. You might miss some calls, you might overlook some emails, but it's a time to sort of retrace your steps with these things and get clear on mercurial things like communication. There's a bug. And the other thing is, with these 4 planets retrograde, and Mercury's only retrograde for a couple more weeks, so it's time to, take your time with those things. Try not to rush into any communications, and try to be patient, especially with Saturn retrograde, because Saturn retrograde is offering a chance for a lot of patience. He's actually compelling us to slow down. In general, Saturn compels us to slow down, and then especially when he's retrograde, when he's appearing to move backwards, it's like really a time to reconsider your long-term goals and not rush into anything. With Mars also retrograde, this can also create a sort of slowing effect, because Mars rules our will and our energy that puts us into action. So when Mars is going retrograde, we might be thinking twice about where we want to put our physical energy, put our physical courage and action. And then Jupiter retrograde, Jupiter really rules our philosophies and beliefs. Jupiter has to do with our teachers and our teachings. And so Jupiter has been retrograde for a few months, and he'll actually be turning direct next week. But during this time, we've been reconsidering how we relate to our beliefs and philosophies. We might have actually changed our mind about some things. We might have had a falling out with a teacher or a philosophical group that we associate with. We may be reconsidering our attachment or our relationship with that right now, and sort of revising our approach to philosophy and beliefs. And with Jupiter here joined with Rahu, if we've changed directions in our beliefs or our teachers, we may have adopted something really radical, because Rahu is pretty radical. He can be kind of obsessive, sometimes immature and irrational, And again, as we can see in the broader societal spectrum, there's a lot of really extremist beliefs happening right now. And the other thing I want to mention about all 4 of these planets retrograde, these planets also rule different houses in the chart. So Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius, Saturn rules Aquarius and Cancer, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, and Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So in your personal chart right now, you have the ruler of 8 out of 12 areas of life going backwards at the moment. So in our personal lives also, this is a time to sort of step back and become more inward, because nothing is moving forward in the way that you think it is, or very little anyway, because, you know, 2/3 of your house rulers are in retrograde motion right now. So you're rethinking whatever those houses represent for you, whether it's career, children, your hobbies and activities, your beliefs, your relationships with mother, father, partner, any of that. Probably a lot of those different areas of life fall into one of the houses being ruled by a retrograde planet in your chart right now. And to understand that more, we can do a personal reading looking at your chart. You can also find that through my website at soumyadevi.com. And it's really interesting to get into the personal chart and see both which houses are ruled by these planets, and then also where these transits are falling for you right now, because these are going to also overlap certain houses in your chart, causing a big influence. And also it'll show you, you know, what is trying to come into birth or regeneration right now in your life. And one more thing that's interesting about this chart right now is that so Venus and Mercury retrograde are joining with this new moon. So Venus is going to add even more passion, also because Bharani Nakshatra is ruled by Venus. So there's a lot of desire attached to this new moon. There's a lot of desire in general with Venus there, with the sun and moon in Bharani Nakshatra. Adding to that, Jupiter and Rahu aspecting. Jupiter and Rahu is just a really impassioned combination. So whatever we're believing, our beliefs are really firing us up right now this month. And then also Saturn and Mars are in the 8th house from Aries. And the 8th house is also about death and rebirth and regeneration. So there's a lot of energy inspiring us towards actually some radical transformation right now, and possibly a real radical rebirth of whatever you're doing with your energy at the moment. It may be a time to change directions. And you have that energy because even though Mars is retrograde, Sun is in Aries right now, and Sun is considered exalted in Aries. Sun is the planet where we connect with Source, where we remember that divine energy within us that gives us the power to do everything and the power to exist as a soul in the world, you know, sharing this divine light everywhere. And so when Sun is in Aries, that's Mars's sign. So we have that element of strength and energy and courage backing up our connection with Source. So we feel really connected. Again, with Mars retrograde, we might be a little bit confused about this, or a little bit more hesitant, but in general, Sun is still in Aries in that part of the sky where he's really strong. Again, it's springtime. Everything is rebirthing anyway right now, and we really feel that divine potency is high, and we want to bring that forth into the world. So that's a brief explanation of what's going on with this new moon. Of course, there's a lot more layers to it, and every planet in your chart also has a unique position, which is really interesting to see. You know, you may have planets in these signs that are being transited by the grahas, the planets right now. You may have planets in your chart that are retrograde, and this is all going to add more layers to how this is influencing your life in particular. Also, we're in the beginning of this 1.5-year transit of Rahu and Ketu over Aquarius and Leo, and that is really stirring up our shadows around the work we're doing between finding our personal power and where we are able to take care of ourselves and our immediate families, creations, surroundings, versus our universal power and the power that we have and the energy that we have towards service to society and to our social groups and friends. So a lot of that may be disrupted this year, especially around the times of the eclipses. And I sent out a free eclipse report earlier this year that you may have seen that's still available through my site also. And also eclipse package readings, which is usually the time when the most people are interested in readings because that stirs a lot up. So the next eclipse on that axis is going to be in September. And Jupiter retrograde, as I said, Jupiter is going to be moving forward again next week, so that should help us feel a little more clear about which teachings and beliefs we're committed to. Saturn is going to be retrograde until August right now and joined with Mars for a lot of that time. So this Scorpio house of transformation is really getting a lot of energy as we consider our commitment to transformation. And Saturn is really the planet that's about the long term. So when he's backing up in retrograde, we're really thinking about our long-term goals. And that's going to be specific in an area of life, wherever Scorpio is in your chart. You're going to be reconsidering your long-term goals and commitments in that particular area. And I also sent out a free Saturn retrograde report to my mailing list members, so you can get that for free as well. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that broadcast, because there's a lot going on. Like I said, every planet in the chart is somehow influencing this new moon. And so I hope that you have a beautiful cycle. Sign up for my mailing list. Sometimes we correspond with questions about how different celestial events are going for people. I like to gather information and hear about that. So you can feel free to chime in with that or get a reading and keep in touch. Thanks. Namaste.